So, wonderful panelists. Welcome back up to the station. Thank you so much for your brilliance that you've added to this experience. There should be mics kind of sprinkled about. And this is just our time to, you can just, whenever you're feeling called to share, just ask for a mic. We won't go down the line, we sort of popcorn it around. But really want to hear from your heart after this amazing day, this amazing weekend, where you're at, where we're at in this collective moment. What's on your heart? What impressions do you have? What reflections? What are you walking away with? What are you inspired to do, to move, to push? And if you're feeling so called, just grab a mic, speak it through. Breathe in, breathe out, speak truth. Tom.
I know it's always a trick to get started with these panels, so I'll say a quick word. Just speaking on the conference in total, it's just been such a opportunity to step back and really see. We've been heads down, working on a lot of things, and each year it seems like, in one sense, like a decade of progress, and we're all working really hard. I also am hearing the message today and on other days that I think is really important to really consider what progress means, and I think we're centering in this idea of organic growth, yes, work hard to do the things, but really be mindful of what growth means. Is it really growth? And, I think we're collectively doing a good job in making those considerations. And I think that as we talk and have all the multiple perspectives on this work, I think we're getting better at communicating from an and/or perspective rather than subtly divisive perspective. And I think that's so important because there's so much to do. I like the way David was talking about the different approaches and how they sit together and why they're all important. And if we all adopt that attitude together, I think we're gonna do really well to create a whole umbrella of services. And it is a unfolding, and progress is a verb. It's not a destination. It's not, no one person has the idea of where this is all going to land. I think we're all, starting to row together with different perspectives, but a beating heart together. So that's what I'm thinking about.
Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't want to go first, given that, I'm the Canadian representative on the panel, but I'd like to, first of all, state that I'm going back to Canada even more inspired and invigorated by the excellent leadership and initiative, but more importantly, seeing how government and the community are working together to create a framework which I think could be very much explored as options for consideration in Canada. So I'm, again, very inspired, very honored to be asked by Horizons, and I'll be sad to depart, but it's been really wonderful, the embrace from the Portland psychedelic community, and very honored to have been asked and to be part of this closing panel, so thank you.
I remembered this book at some point during the conference. It was a book that I found in one of those little libraries kind of on the side of the road, and I read, and I have to be honest, I don't remember the name of the book or the author, which is kind of embarrassing, so apologies to that person. But it brought to mind this sort of metaphor that I wanted to share. The plot of the book is about this house that these families are living in over generations, and the foundations of the house are not sturdy, they're not strong. So the house is slowly deteriorating and collapsing around these two different families that are in this story. And the characters in the book have different ways of responding to that situation. So some of them are denying the fact that this structure is starting to kind of crumble, and others are casting blame upon each other. And you know, it's a scary thing to imagine being in this house and it's crumbling, and maybe you don't have the economic situation to really respond to that. But there's the line from the book that really came to me, and it's unsheltered, we stand in daylight. And I think that, to me, that's sort of a metaphor for this moment that I think many of us are feeling ourselves to be in this, specifically, I want to say Western culture and sort of modern society, where we're starting to sense that some of these foundations that we've relied on maybe aren't sturdy, maybe they're not stable, and some parts of our house are crumbling, and that's really scary. And we can have this temptation to cast blame and deny what's happening, but none of that's really going to change that the foundations maybe just aren't sturdy. And so I think that there's this way of being in this moment that's, you know, there's this, it's okay to acknowledge that it's frightening. We've erected certain structures and systems to try to protect ourselves, but as some of that falls away, there's also this opportunity to let the light in. So I just want to share that with you all.
Mm-hmm.
Quiero agradecer
I want to thank
a todo el equipo de Horizons
the whole team
por
here at
todo el
Horizons
apoyo
for all
hacia
the
todos
support
nosotros.
for all of us.
Coincido
I consider
con muchos compañeros
a lot of colleagues
que cada uno tiene perspectivas
that
diferentes
each one of us has
y
different
todas
perspectives,
son respetables,
and each one is respectable,
legítimas.
legitimate.
Estoy muy agradecido
I'm very
también
honored and very grateful
porque se está participando en estos espacios
because we're participating in these
donde se
spaces
busca tener diferentes voces,
where you look to have diverse
diferentes
opinions,
perspectivas.
different
En mi
perspectives.
caso, como miembro de un pueblo indígena,
And I, as a member of my indigenous community,
es muy importante reconocer
it's very
eso,
important to recognize that.
porque como lo decía en mi presentación,
Like I was saying in my presentation,
el movimiento psicodélico es un proceso histórico muy largo
the psychedelic renaissance is a long journey,
y los pueblos indígenas han estado presentes desde su
and the
inicio,
indigenous communities have been present all along,
compartiendo y
sharing
aprendiendo.
and learning.
Y creo que también las sociedades occidentales
I also believe that the Western culture
han aprendido de los pueblos indígenas,
have learned from
de
these indigenous
nosotros,
communities, from us.
y ahora creo que es un buen momento
And now I think it's a good time
para fortalecer los vínculos,
to fortify,
tomar acuerdos,
to make
acuerdos
agreements,
respetuosos,
respectful agreements,
donde nadie se crea superior
where no one seems superior,
y todos apoyemos
and where
unos a
each support one
otros
another
de la mejor forma.
in the best way possible.
Gracias.
Thank you.
I'll say my piece. I want to say that I'm biased because I am a conference nerd and I always enjoy conferences. But I feel what is like exciting, there is this freshness of doing something new that is just an adventure and a novelty. We don't have models to say, let's do it like that because that worked. So there is a sense of being witness and being co-creators of a future together. And it's such a novel moment in history, what's happening with regulated access, that we all get the work that we do, we can see the results right there. So it's very exciting there's a lot of opportunity to do things because everything you do might have a great impact since there is so little done. And at the same time, we're here together with sacred masters of this movement I don't know if you say that in English, sacred cows, people with a lot of knowledge. And so I have a lot of idols and mentors and friends and people that are, inspired me. And so I feel there's a great momentum of being with all the best knowledge, all the best people, and more openness, more understanding, and a willingness to experiment and to try. I think we're living a great time, and there's a lot of chance. Despite all the craziness of the world, I am optimistic.
Is it on? Okay. I feel the same. I feel this event, this weekend, and all of you have given me a lot of hope. Because the work that I used to do, I was saying to somebody earlier, I was like, yeah, ironically, I had to leave the Boarding School Healing Coalition for my own healing, to pursue my own healing. And because when I was there and I was focused on advocacy and social justice, I was very angry. It was a lot of hurt. It was a lot of trauma. And I just saw all the negative side of history and humanity and the terrible things that we do in the name of, whatever we believe in. And I'm not going to say that pursuing a PhD was the answer to my healing, but the last couple years, the 2 years that I've had of just being a grad student and just taking in, I like what Tia Bia said about education. I am a lifelong learner, and I feel so humble. I feel like a baby up here. Like I don't know anything, And the more I learn, the farther I go in my education, the less I realize I know. And I feel like this, like I said earlier, this is a spiritual movement. And the movement that I was involved in healing for the boarding schools, for the genocide, to find the lost children, to heal our nations, to face ourselves and acknowledge our past and not repeat those mistakes in the future. Like that was hard, heavy work, and it had to have a spiritual foundation. And my board knew that. We were like, this has to be supported by prayer. And what I see that is just happening organically, that there's not an organization out there saying, we are the ones who laying the spiritual foundation. But we all know it, we all feel it. It's in the spirit of the medicines that we're working with. It connects with our spirit, and then our spirits connect with each other and the spirits that are surrounding us, and we just know inherently that this is a spiritual movement. And I just, like I said, the amount of care that went into curating these conversations, these speakers and guests, and I just thank you so much to Kevin and the conference organizers. This is by far the best, most amazing conference I've ever been to in any sector. And you're all part of that. Like you too. Like you guys are really great. And I want to encourage you and share with you that hope that I'm feeling. Yes, we've got a lot of problems. Yes, we're lost in the dark. Like Mona, our dear elder said, we're sitting around the fire going, crap. But we all understand too that there is this nature of duality, right? That at the same time as we're lost in the dark, we see the light, we see the hope, we feel it. And I want to encourage you all with the wonderful news that the fundraiser that happened on Friday night met its goal. So you all made that happen. for IMC. So thank you to all of you for being here on your weekend, spending your time and your energy, and chimigwich.
Couple quick words and I'll pass it on. Mainly, I want to thank you all for enduring and laughing at my dad jokes throughout the conference. I only have about 15 more I want to offer. I'm just joking. No, truly, this conference over the 3 days and last year, I felt myself watching the flowers slowly bloom throughout the day and throughout the 3 days. And it hit me earlier today that the thing that I've loved the most is actually getting together in person and having conversations and constructive debate. It, in my mind and my perspective, it has made this work and this ecosystem more kind, and it has healed some wounds, and it's something that I didn't expect, and it's been really beautiful. I hope we continue to meet not just on Zoom in the coming millennia and years, but getting together in person. It has been so sweet. This conference is such a blessing. You all are a blessing. I feel super lucky to be here with you all. Let's do it again. Thanks, y'all.
I'm going to look at the audience this time. Here we go. Again, thank you for witnessing earlier. These gatherings are really important, and I would like to just say that I'm really appreciative of the direction that these gatherings continue to move towards emphasizing social justice and emphasizing a community that's more horizontal, you know. And I'd love to see a gathering someday where we have circles and we talk together. And I think I feel really inspired that, you know, I want to keep giving more than I take in my work. And some of the things that I'm going to leave here with are that there were perspectives that were shared that were contrary to my own, and I hope that other folks resonated with that and they can make some space to consider those other perspectives and feel it in your body, where that resistance is to seeing that perspective from someone else's shoes, and hopefully growing and learning together. And I think what I'll also take away is, you know, what is going to be my personal legacy, and what is it centered on? And I think I have a lot to chew on in that regard. But I think for me, it's about synergy and empowerment, and how I can, you know, use my voice to help amplify those folks who don't have a seat at the table, who are marginalized or just can't participate for whatever reason. And yeah, I'm just really grateful for this opportunity and feeling a lot of gratitude. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll share just a couple things. It's so good to be here with all of the folks here on stage and all of you all over the course of the weekend. I really want to echo the gratitude. I'm feeling a lot of warmth in my spirit, which is super nice. I think I made this joke at the last 3 Horizons. I promise this will be the last time. But I think Horizons does a really good job of making space for the suits and the hula hoops. And I think that this year I saw fewer suits and fewer hula hoops, which tells me something, but I'm not totally sure what that is yet. But I think it's something about an expansion of the aperture, which allows for more kind of voices, perspectives, and types of people to show up. I'm feeling really grateful for the conversations I had outside, over lunch, in the hallways, with so many people from so many different places. And I think that's really incredible to watch and to experience, so thank you. And the other thing, you know, one of the things I was thinking about coming into this weekend was that, especially yesterday in the science day content, there was a time not so long ago when you had a full day of science programming, that was most of the science. And as you probably picked up on over the course of this weekend, we've gotten snippets of what's happening out there, and a lot of the snippets of what's happening in here. And what that brings up for me is, one, the importance and the expertise and support of curation, not just like what gets on the stage, but each of us and how we're kind of maintaining and cultivating relationships. And what I've been sitting with, which is the discernment of what you need, how to bring discernment when you have what feels like so many options that are all at different levels and all pulling at different parts of our heartstrings and parts of our values. So I think I'll be sitting with, and I hope people leave with, a sense that we can and ought to have discernment, and there's ways to have discernment that involve setting boundaries, that involve setting standards and principles and values and holding ourselves in that way, but that doesn't necessarily have to create an insurmountable wall that prevents us from also communicating. And I think that there's been a lot of that thread throughout the weekend, and I'm just really grateful to be part of it and to be here in dialogue with all of you here. Thanks so much.
Oh man, this has been so much fun. Yeah, you all are awesome. Every single person I've met has been cool. And we got to party Beloved through an amazing event on Friday. Yeah, you guys came out last night for the Portland Psychedelic Mixer. That was so beautiful to see. Probably over 200 people came out. Thank you. This has been a blast, and I'm so glad that it's happening. Everyone at Horizons has been amazing. You guys are real cool. This is fun. These things don't have to be all serious, and they're not, so that's great. You know, with those of us who are stewarding the psychedelic re-emergence, we're waking a sleeping giant. And it's a big ass giant, so it's taking some time. And there's danger involved, and we're kind of figuring it out as we go. But as long as we keep doing this and coming together and communicating, then we can keep making sure that it's aligned properly. And as long as it's aligned properly, it will be beautiful, and it already is. So thank you all.
I'd like to do a shout out to the members of the local psychedelic communities here in Portland. It's been really great to get to know people. Everyone's been really kind and friendly. And I just want to thank you for doing all the education you're doing in your community. It's really important that educators, teachers, mentors be present every time one of these Horizons events occurs. And I'd like to thank the organizers. It's a really well-organized event. It increases people's curiosity about psychedelics, including people who don't know much about psychedelics. And so it's really important that people be pointed towards educational resources, that educators step up and provide that information, and that people who are new to these compounds and plants get accurate information about their impact. I think it's important to remember that there are new compounds coming out of laboratories and into unregulated markets all the time. And we have to be aware of that and accept that and educate ourselves. Always a shout out to the organizations who do that. Arrowwood, of course, Dance Safe, thank you, right? All those people. All the organizations that provide that information, really essential organizations, and all the psychedelic societies as well that provide local information too. Lucid has Psychedelic U. A lot of other organizations provide information that's updated. Encourage people new to these communities to get the accurate and updated information they need. Thank you.
I want to echo the words of gratitude and add words of amazement and astonishment that so much is happening so rapidly, and most of it seems very, very good. Thank you all for contributing. In addition to the beauty of what is emerging, I think we need to be aware of the fact, first of all, for people that are really in the weeds on this, our Zoom calls, our email threads and whatnot, it often feels pretty chaotic. And sometimes it feels as though it is unhelpfully chaotic. And the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. And sometimes egos come into the picture. So I would encourage all of us, and I'm saying this to myself as well, to become resilient in the face of that. That's simply how it's going to move forward. Everyone here is here because we believe in the revelatory power, the healing power, the enjoyment power of psychedelic-assisted practices. And I just want to remind us, what I'm pretty sure is true, that as we know now, it will become true as psychedelics are used more and more, a whole lot of people who use them are going to be helped significantly, whether it's healing or whether it's personal insight or creativity. A lot of people will say, that was really, really useful. A smaller number of people perhaps will say, that was amazingly useful. That was like the best thing ever. I'm so grateful. There will be some people who will say, meh, not my cup of tea. Not much happened, or it was an interesting show. What's for dinner? And the hard thing to wrap our arms around and to acknowledge is that some people will be harmed. There will be casualties. With the best screening, with the best facilitation, there will be casualties. And you know, that's true of driving an automobile. That's true of walking on the sidewalk where there's cars nearby. That's true of rock climbing. It's true of most things in life. And I think that we can be forthcoming about that. We can weave that into our political narratives. We can tell our relatives, our friends, our neighbors, yeah, that's part of the package too. And the reason we can do it is, first of all, it's true. Breathe in, breathe out, speak truth, yes? And the overall picture is still overwhelmingly, I believe, a great gift. Extremely positive, even with the occasional downsides.
First of all, good afternoon, good evening, and good day, and thank you. Thank you very much for giving me the space to share on behalf of the organization that I represented here, the Indigenous Medicine Fund, and as well as Native American Church. And, you know, there's something that always comes to my mind, and it's that we're all faced with a challenge. We as Indigenous people, we're faced with the challenge of what from our traditions and our understandings and our spiritual practices and beliefs are we going to go ahead and share. And to do it in a way that is where we feel that there is this good relationship. And I think by allowing our presence and hearing what we have had to say is part of that. Part of allowing for that worldview of the Indigenous people in our relationship with the medicine. And so thank you for doing that, and I wish you all the best, and in whatever you're going to do, however you're going to do it, I just pray that it's all good, it's all God. Thank you.
And thank you. I want to offer one closing thought that touches on something that Bia brought up in her panel about allyship instead of competition. And when this conference was started in 2007, there was not a plan, there was not a budget, there was not an expectation that almost 2 decades later we would travel across 2 mountain ranges and have a 3-day conference in a Masonic hall in Portland where psychedelics would become regulated and where people would fly from across the world to both speak and listen. But it felt like a moral obligation to do something and to make a contribution. And the contribution that this conference has made, where experts stand or sit on stage and speak to audiences in a rectangular room, is really only one of many. And there is lots of different formats, lots of different curatorial sort of concepts, lots of different kinds of gatherings and efforts and contributions that need to be made, all of which are equally legitimate and valid. And so I'm very honored that the thing that me and the Horizons team have created has been honored by so many people's presence. I also encourage everyone here to go out and make whatever contribution you can and not worry about whether it will be large or successful or respected or written about. Just start somewhere with what feels like an honest contribution and something that's worth doing, because you never know where it will go. And now I'd like to welcome one more group of people to the stage, which is the team that's been working for months and years to bring this to you. And I'm going to read names here, and not all of them are present. But I'd like to thank Aniko, I'd like to thank Carissa, Patrick, Brittany, Esther, Liv, Caitlin, Stephen, JP, Misha, Kiara, and Gina, and so many other people that have contributed to this project that if I started naming them, it would never end. So without further deliberation, and somehow magically and mysteriously right on time at the stroke of 6 o'clock, I would like to declare an end to the second Horizons Northwest Conference. You have all passed the acid test.
Woo!